good day, and welcome back to Chapter Day. It is Friday. Yay! We made it safely through another week. Bless the Lord. Today we are going to be reading Job chapter 28. Yesterday, Job chapter 29, because yesterday in Job 28, Job was still speaking, and he's making a lot of how should I say, praises to God. Mostly is what he's doing, giving God the acclamation of being such a supreme creator. The earth and the wisdom that God used to form the earth and the things of the earth are beyond our comprehension, is what he was saying. There are things hidden from our eyes that we will never ever really get a full understanding of, unless we have a one-on-one with God, maybe when we get to heaven. But as we are infinitely on this earth here, or finitely I should say, we cannot understand a lot of God's ways. Everything God has made, the path for the fowls, there are some places that the fowls have never been and they will never be. There are things that I mean, if we sit and think about it, the things around us, if we just look at the construct of a leaf even, we would understand the wisdom that God used in order to create this world. Wisdom beyond our comprehension. And we think ourselves pretty smart for some of the things, the technologies. I mean, I am still amazed at a television, honestly. And we have gone way past televisions, okay? Now we are on an internet, and I mean, think about it, going up into space, all of that stuff. And you know what it is? It's what God has given man the wisdom to create and the understanding as far as he allows us to go. But this is what Job is declaring. So let's see what he says in chapter 29. Job is still speaking. Moreover, Job continued his parable and said, "Oh, that I were as in months past, as in the days when God preserved me, when his candle shined upon my head, and when by his light I walked through darkness. As I was in the days of my youth, when the secret of God was upon my tabernacle, when the Almighty was yet with me, when my children were about me." So Job is wishing for the times when things were good. Yeah, when his children were still alive, when he was not in that state, maybe in his youth. I don't know how old Job was, you know, but it doesn't matter. He must have been at least middle-aged, you know, in our time for middle age, if he had such grown-up children, you know. But I don't know. It's something we all do. When we are going through bad days, we wish we were back in those better days. Yeah, when the days were good, I should say. Verse 6, "When I washed my steps with butter, and the rock poured me out rivers of oil. When I went out to the gate through the city, when I prepared my seat in the street. The young men saw me and hid themselves, and the young arose, and the aged arose and stood up. The princes refrained talking and laid their hand on their mouth. The nobles held their peace, and their tongue cleaved to the roof of their mouth." That means he was a man of notoriety, and everyone gave him respect. Verse 11, "When the ear heard me, then it blessed me. And when the eye saw me, it gave witness to me. Because I delivered the poor that cried, and the fatherless, and him that had none to help him." So this is what Job is accounting. He's giving his own account of his own life, himself. And here he's saying opposite to what his friends were saying about him, that he ignored the fatherless and he cheated people from, you know, what was theirs. He is saying differently about himself here. Verse 13, "The blessing of him that was ready to perish came upon me, and I caused the widow's heart to sing for joy. I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. My judgment was as a robe and a diadem. I was eyes to the blind, and feet was I to the lame. I was a father to the poor, and the cause which I knew not I searched out. And I brake the jaws of the wicked, and plucked the spoil out of his teeth. Then I said, I shall die in my nest, and I shall multiply my days as the sand. My root was spread out by the waters, and the dew lay all night upon my branch. My glory was fresh in me, and my bow was renewed in my hand. So Job is saying that he helped people. He did right. He was righteous, as opposed to what his friends had said before. Verse 21. Unto me men gave ear, and waited, and kept silence at my counsel. After my words they spake not again, and my speech dropped upon them. And they waited for me as for the rain, and they opened their mouth wide as for the latter rain. If I laughed on them, they believed it not, and the light of my countenance they cast not down. I chose out their way, and sat chief, and dwelt as a king in the army, as one that comforteth the mourners. So Job was a kind man. He was a respected man. He was a revered man. And he was a helpful and kind person. And this is what Job is giving witness of himself. And you know what? Know yourself. Don't be afraid. And I mean, you're not boasting about yourself. Okay? You speak the truth. When you're being accused, sometimes we hold our peace. But people sometimes ought to know. And this is what Job is doing here in chapter 29. And that's the end of our chapter for today. Not a long one, but to the point. Job giving evidence of himself. And God knows. Trust me, God knows Job. So until our next reading, we are going to be having Sabbath in a few hours. I pray you take the Sabbath and rest as God said you should. And until our next reading, may God continue to bless you and your faith continues to grow. Take care. Bye.